nobody has ever been able to read them. Not scientists, not governments, not the people who dedicated their entire lives to figuring it out. But a few months ago, an AI did. And what it found, nobody was ready for. Crop circles have been showing up in fields all over the world for decades. Giant, complex geometric patterns that appear overnight, sometimes hundreds of feet wide, with no tracks, no footprints, no sign that any human was ever there. And for a long time, most people just wrote them off. It's a prank. It's college kids with boards and ropes. There's nothing to figure out. But here's the thing. Some of these formations are so precise, so mathematically advanced, that even engineers can't replicate them perfectly. And now, after decades of nothing, an AI system has done something nobody expected. It cracked the pattern. It decoded what these things are actually saying. And the message, it's not what anyone hoped it would be. Let's go back to where this all started, because you need to understand the full picture before we get to what the AI found. The first modern crop circle was reported in England in 1978. It was simple, just a circle flattened into a wheat field in Wiltshire. Strange, but explainable. Then, in the 1980s, things got more complicated. The circles started appearing with rings around them. Then with satellite shapes. Then with patterns inside patterns. Fractal-like geometry that repeated itself at different scales. By the 1990s, these formations were showing up in over 50 countries. Japan, Canada, Germany, Australia, Russia, the US. Always in crop fields. Always overnight. Always with the same kind of precision. Scientists started looking more seriously. And what they found in the physical crop was hard to explain. The plant stems inside the formations weren't broken, they were bent, almost like they'd been heated and pushed down. The nodes on the stalks, which are like the joints on the stem, were elongated, stretched, in a way that doesn't happen when you step on a plant or flatten it with a board. Independent labs tested soil samples from inside formation zones and found magnetized iron particles, tiny metallite spheres, embedded in the ground. The kind of thing you'd expect to find after intense heat or some kind of energy discharge, not after a hoax. And then the shapes themselves started getting specific. Not just circles anymore. In 1991, a formation appeared in Barbury Castle in England showing a tetrahedron, a 3D geometric shape. In 2001, in Milk Hill, a single formation contained 409 separate circles arranged in a perfect fractal spiral. It covered 12 acres. If someone made that by hand, in one night, in the dark, with rope and boards, they never came forward. Nobody ever claimed it. Then things got stranger. Some formations started showing up that looked unmistakably like code. In 2002, a crop circle appeared near the Chilbolton radio telescope in England, right next to the same telescope that had sent the Arecibo message into space in 1974. The Arecibo message was a radio broadcast designed by NASA scientists to communicate with potential extraterrestrial intelligence. It contained information about human DNA, our solar system, and basic mathematics. The crop formation that appeared next to Chilbolton in 2002 looked like a response. A modified version of the Arecibo message, with changes that suggested a different DNA structure, a different physical form, and a different solar system. A third planet highlighted instead of the third, with what appeared to be a different figure shown instead of a human. Nobody claimed responsibility. The formation appeared overnight, and it was mathematically consistent with the original Arecibo transmission. That's when researchers stopped treating this as a prank and started treating it as a cipher. The problem was, nobody had the tools to decode it. Not fully. Individual researchers spent years analyzing single formations, finding mathematical constants embedded in them. Things like pi, the Fibonacci sequence, binary code, even references to quantum physics equations. But each analysis was isolated. Nobody could connect the whole thing. There were thousands of documented formations spread across 40 years and dozens of countries. The human brain just couldn't hold all of it at once and find the pattern underneath. That changed recently when a team of independent researchers fed the entire documented archive, over 12,000 recorded crop circle formations going back to the 1970s, into an AI analysis system trained on pattern recognition, linguistics, and mathematical structures. They weren't expecting a breakthrough. They were mostly just trying to categorize things, build a database, organize the data. But what the AI came back with stopped them cold. First, the AI identified something called a repeating grammatical structure across the formations. Think of it like this. If you had never heard English before, and someone showed you 1,000 sentences, eventually the AI would notice that certain words keep appearing in certain positions, that certain structures repeat, that there's a logic to the arrangement. That's what the AI found in the crop formations. Not just random geometry, a grammar. A consistent set of rules for how shapes, sizes, and arrangements related to each other across different formations in different countries, separated by years. The AI found that certain shapes always appeared before others, that certain ratios, between the size of one circle and the next, were consistent across formations that were thousands of miles apart and decades apart in time, that there were what it called anchor formations, specific complex designs that seemed to function like header statements, like the beginning of a structured communication, with simpler formations that followed them, acting like responses or elaborations. Second, the AI cross-referenced the geometric content of the formations with known mathematical and physical constants, and it found matches that went way beyond coincidence. Some formations contained encoded references to the speed of light. Others seemed to represent atomic structures. Several contained what appeared to be descriptions of wave frequencies that don't exist in any natural phenomenon we currently understand, but match theoretical models used in certain areas of quantum mechanics research. One particular cluster of formations, all appearing within a 40-mile radius in Wiltshire, England, between 1994 and 2009, when analyzed together as a sequence, appeared to describe a model of spacetime that's more consistent with certain fringe theoretical physics than anything in mainstream science. The AI flagged this cluster specifically because the formations in it seemed to build on each other, each one adding detail, each one refining the previous statement, like chapters in a book. Third, and this is where it gets unsettling, the AI found what it described as a warning structure. In linguistics and communication theory, warning structures are specific arrangements of language that signal danger or urgency. They show up across human languages, even when those languages have no shared history. Short, direct, high-emphasis statements that break from the surrounding pattern to get attention. The AI identified the same kind of structural break in a specific set of formations. These formations were different from the rest. They appeared in multiple countries within short time windows, weeks apart. They used a repeated core symbol that the AI identified as an emphasis marker, something that, in the grammar it had reconstructed, functions like a capital letter or an exclamation point. And the geometric content of these formations, when decoded through the mathematical framework the AI had built, translated into something that the researchers spent weeks trying to understand before they were willing to say it out loud. The message, if you accept the AI's decoding framework, which not everyone does, is not a greeting. It's not a hello. It's not we're here. It's closer to a countdown. The formations the AI flagged as warning structures span from 1995 to 2019, and they don't describe something that happened in the past. Based on the mathematical sequences embedded in them, sequences that the AI identified as time-referencing structures, similar to the way the original Arecibo message used a number line to establish shared mathematical understanding. They appear to be describing a progression, a process that's underway, something that started before we were paying attention and is still moving forward. The specific content of what that process is, the researchers are deliberately not publishing in full yet, because they're still in the verification phase, and they don't want to cause panic over something that hasn't been fully peer-reviewed. But what has leaked from the team, through separate interviews with two of the researchers who've spoken on background, is this. The formations seem to describe a change in something fundamental about the environment of this planet. Not a political warning, not a message about human behavior. Something physical, something about the conditions of the planet itself. One researcher described it, carefully, as a description of a state change. Like the difference between water and ice. The same material, but in a fundamentally different configuration. And the sequence suggests we're not at the beginning of that process. Now, is this real? Is the AI right? That's genuinely complicated to answer. And it's important to be honest about that. There are real, documented hoaxers who have made crop circles. Doug Bauer and Dave Chorley famously claimed credit for hundreds of formations in England starting in the 1990s. Some formations are absolutely human-made. The physical anomalies, the bent nodes, the magnetic particles, have been disputed by some scientists who say they're not as unusual as claimed. Skeptics have valid points. But here's what makes this AI analysis different from previous attempts to dismiss the whole thing. The AI wasn't looking at individual formations and asking, was this made by humans? It was looking at the entire archive as a data set and asking, is there a consistent mathematical structure across all of this? And the answer it came back with is, yes. Whether the source of that structure is extraterrestrial, whether it's some kind of unknown human phenomenon, whether it's something else entirely, the AI didn't conclude on that. What it concluded was that the pattern is there. It's consistent, it follows rules, and those rules encode information. The question of who put that information there, and why, and whether the warning it seems to contain is real, that's still open. And that might be the most disturbing thing about all of this. Not that we got an answer, but that we got a message we might not be equipped to understand yet, from a source we still can't identify, describing something we can't stop. So here's where we are. Crop circles have been appearing for over 40 years. Some are hoaxes, but a significant portion of them contain physical anomalies that human tools don't explain, and mathematical content that goes far beyond what people stamping down fields at night would think to encode. An AI analysis of the full archive found a consistent grammar, a structured communication system across thousands of formations, and the decoded content of what the AI calls warning formations suggests a description of an ongoing physical process affecting this planet. Nobody has the full answer yet. The research is still being verified. But the fact that an AI found what decades of human analysis missed, a consistent rule-based structure, means one thing is no longer really up for debate. Whatever is making at least some of these formations isn't doing it randomly. There's intention behind it. There's a message. And now, for the first time, we might actually be starting to read it. If this kept you up, watch the next video.